So, have you ever felt like everything about you is just wrong? Have you heard from people that you're just way too much or over the top? And then at the same time, you're still not enough for everybody else around you? Have you heard things like, you are way too emotional or passionate or opinionated? Or my personal favorite, why can't you just let it go? It's not that big a deal. Man, if you've heard any of those things or if any of that sounds familiar to you, I can relate. You and I, we're soul sisters. My name is Abbi Walker, and I've been high strung every day that I have lived and breathed and walked upon this earth. Nobody taught me to be that way. It's just who I was. It's who I am. Internally, the stuff that goes on inside of me, how I feel about stuff, I feel like is 100 times more intense than the girl sitting next to me. It's just how God made me. But for most of my life, I thought he made me wrong. I grew up in the church. I'm a fourth generation Baptist preacher's daughter. And the Baptists love to teach the Bible verses, specifically on the ladies, out of 1 Peter, which talks about having a gentle and quiet spirit. Y'all, let's be honest, there's not a damn thing about me that is gentle or quiet. And I can remember sitting in the room and the first time I heard that verse taught, and I was like, oh no. Like, I already knew I was too much for the world, but in hearing that verse, I was like, God himself thinks that I'm too much and I've got to rein it in, and I don't know how, and I'm so screwed. In that moment, in those places of shame and where we feel isolated from people around us because it matters more to us, everything matters more to us than everybody else, we turn on ourselves because we realize that to really be ourselves makes people uncomfortable or causes us closeness in relationship. So man, I dedicated my life to smoothing out my rough edges, to being more likable, to being less passionate, to caring less about everything. And my early 30s, it'll just do it to you. I was like, I am exhausted and miserable. Like, miserable. And I'm usually a pretty happy person, but I was frustrated and I was bone weary, because when you're trying to constantly change everything about yourself, when you're second guessing every natural instinct for you of like, oh, this is right, and then you're like, oh no, it's not, because people will hate me if I do that, or no, I can't say that because they'll all look at me and I'll be embarrassed and I'll go home and cry myself to sleep and eat all the ice cream. It's exhausting. And you find yourself in this place where you're trying to beat yourself into submission to be somebody that you're really not, but you don't know what else to do because you gotta have friends. You gotta have connection. You gotta get married one day. Some of the most significant places of rejection and hurt in my life were when I couldn't help it, and out of my mouth came my high-strung personality and my overzealous emotions and all of the things. And I watched another guy walk away from me because it was too much, and it broke my heart. Pain is a very, very powerful emotion. I say all of this to say, around that same time that this was going on, I ran across an old home video. God bless it. The dads with the big giant, they were the size of like a boombox on their shoulder. And there was 3-year-old Abbi, and she was a spitfire. And she was dancing, and she was performing plays, and she was doing all this kind of stuff. And I'm not gonna lie to you, it wasn't good. Like, I was mixing hip hop and ballet with Foursquare dancing. It was not great. But that girl didn't care. That little 2-year-old thought she was awesome. And it made me cry. I could not believe that the worn out, beat yourself into submission, be everything everybody wants you to be so that you can have relationships. I couldn't believe that 30-year-old woman and that 3-year-old little girl were supposed to be the same person. Man, it was a powerful moment in my life. And I began this process of just really coming to the Lord and being like, look, I get it. Everything about me is wrong compared to everybody else, but I can't change it. And I'm pretty sure you made me this way. And I'm pretty sure that you don't make any mistakes. So like, let's work this out. So a couple years ago, in the middle of that process, I wrote a blog called Confessions of a High-Strung Woman. And it was really kind of just my statement to the world of like, listen, this is who I am, and I'm learning how to be okay with it, and if you have a really big problem with it, you can just take it to God himself. That was the beginning of a very powerful journey. Threw it out there and didn't expect anybody to even read it. But over the years, I've gotten email after email after email from ladies saying, this is me. I just lost another boyfriend because I couldn't stop crying or expressing myself, or I just had another fight with my mom because she says I won't let things go, or man, what I learned in that moment is that it wasn't just about me, and that I wasn't alone, and that you aren't alone, and that God didn't make a mistake. He intentionally made us this way. But growing up in a world where you're supposed to change everything about yourself, you never learn how to take care of yourself. You never learn that the Maserati engine you have going on inside of you requires tremendous care. It can't be ignored. It can't be, to get the best out of it, to harness it, to do the really great things, you have to learn how to master it and how to care for it. Y'all, it's changed my life. And so I'm in the process of writing a book about all the things that I've learned. But more importantly, I've made this video and created this Facebook page because I want you to know you're not alone. I want you to know that God made you on purpose. And it's not just, well, you should be fine with yourself and go on. There's some things we need to learn. There's some things we need to unlearn. There's some very, very powerful practices that will change your life and your relationships and your experiences and your connection with people that God's just walked me through, and I want to share with you. So I'm so honored that you'd be here. I'm so honored that you take a second to just watch this video. This journey is powerful. I promise you, you will never walk in all of what God made you to be until you as a woman, I believe, walk through this process of embracing your high-strung spirit, of understanding its strengths, understanding the places where you're gonna have to be more mindful and where there are challenges. I'm so honored you'd be here, excited to walk this with you.